Life, finds a way? Doctor. Ian Malcolm Jurassic Park wasn't just a dinosaur blockbuster, it was a revolution that forever changed the way Hollywood made movies. Behind the camera, chaos erupted. Animatronics breaking down, actors nearly crushed, storms destroying sets, and Spielberg himself doubting the technology that would define the film. What audiences didn't know was that bringing dinosaurs back to life almost destroyed the movie itself. Today we're revealing 20 weird facts about Jurassic Park, the disasters, the stunts, the secrets Universal never wanted you to know. And stay tuned because the bonus fact at the end will completely change how you see the T-Rex. Let's dig in. The T-Rex animatronic that went rogue. It wasn't just a machine, it was a 9,000-pound beast that terrified even the crew. The full-scale T-Rex animatronic built by Stan Winston's team was so powerful that when it malfunctioned, it shook violently and even snapped at people. The latex skin absorbed water from the rain, making it twitch uncontrollably. Crew members described moments when the giant head would lunge forward without warning, nearly crushing technicians. Spielberg later admitted the T-Rex became a character with a mind of its own. The chaos wasn't staged, it was survival. Cast members recalled hearing the crew joke nervously, "Don't go near the Rex when it's hungry." What looked like cinematic terror on screen often mirrored the genuine fear behind the cameras. Hurricane Iniki shut down production. Jurassic Park was filmed on Kauai, Hawaii, but midway through production, disaster struck. In September 1992, Hurricane Iniki, one of the strongest storms in Hawaiian history, tore through the island. Sets were destroyed, schedules collapsed, and the cast was trapped. Sam Neill later recalled hiding in a hotel ballroom while palm trees crashed through windows. Laura Dern described the eerie calm afterward, like stepping into a war zone. Spielberg, ever resourceful, turned the downtime into opportunity. He sat the cast together and recorded ADR lines by candlelight. The storm delayed production but gave the actors a strange bond, as if they too had survived a prehistoric disaster. Not surprisingly, the chaos added to the film's raw tension. Spielberg outsourced the ending while filming Schindler's List. Here's something few fans know: Spielberg wasn't even around for much of the post-production. After filming Jurassic Park, he immediately began shooting Schindler's List in Poland. That meant the visual effects, editing, and even final sound design of Jurassic Park were handled by trusted collaborators like George Lucas, Kathleen Kennedy, and sound designer Gary Rydstrom. Spielberg reviewed effects shots via satellite feeds late at night after grueling days on Schindler's List. He later admitted he felt emotionally conflicted, making a Holocaust drama by day and a dinosaur thrill ride by night. But that strange overlap may explain why Jurassic Park balances wonder with dread so perfectly. The raptors' screeches came from tortoise mating sounds. The velociraptors' terrifying screeches weren't made in a sound lab. They came from nature, just not the kind you'd expect. Sound designer Gary Rydstrom revealed that the iconic raptor shrieks were a mix of dolphin calls, horse snorts, and the most surprising element, tortoises mating. Rydstrom described recording giant tortoises in the middle of their business at a zoo and realizing their deep primal groans had the perfect edge of menace. What audiences hear as a terrifying prehistoric predator is, in reality, an animal in the throes of passion. It's one of cinema's strangest sound secrets, and once you know it, you can never unhear it. Jeff Goldblum nearly lost his role to Jim Carrey. Dr. Ian Malcolm wasn't always destined to be Jeff Goldblum's iconic role. Jim Carrey auditioned for the part and reportedly impressed the casting directors with his offbeat energy. At the time, Carrey was still relatively unknown, but his improvisational style fit Malcolm's quirky, chaotic vibe. Spielberg considered him seriously, but ultimately, Goldblum's unique blend of intellectual cool and eccentric delivery won out. It wasn't just casting. Goldblum insisted on rewriting several of his lines, making Malcolm more sarcastic and memorable. The famous line, "Life finds a way," came directly from his delivery. Had Carey landed the role, Malcolm might have been a slapstick comic relief, not the smooth, cult favorite character he became. The sick Triceratops, mystery that was never solved. The scene where Dr. Grant and Ellie find the sick Triceratops feels like a classic Spielberg moment. Tender, magical, and mysterious, but behind the scenes it was pure chaos. Stan Winston's team built a full-size animatronic Triceratops that required a dozen puppeteers inside to move its breathing chest, twitching eyes, and drooling mouth. In the script, Ellie was supposed to solve why the dinosaur was ill. She suspected poisonous berries. But Spielberg cut the resolution for pacing, leaving the Triceratops condition a mystery. This infuriated paleontology fans who wanted closure. The actors, however, remembered it as one of the most magical days, lying against a breathing dinosaur that looked utterly alive. For many, it was the single most convincing effect of the entire film. Not CGI, not a trick. Just pure craftsmanship, and a secret never fully explained. The raptors in the kitchen almost killed the kids. That kitchen sequence, the raptors hunting Lex and Tim, is one of the most suspenseful scenes in film history, but it was also one of the most dangerous. The velociraptor suits were worn by stunt performers who had extremely limited visibility. When they stormed the stainless steel kitchen, they nearly slipped on the polished floors and toppled forward with their massive claw rigs. One stumble could have crushed the child actors. A stuntman later admitted that inside the raptor suit, he had just seconds of air before overheating. The production team placed crew with oxygen tanks just off camera to prevent fainting. What looked like pure predator menace on screen was actually a desperate ballet of survival for the men trapped inside the suits, and the kids they nearly collided with. Samuel L. Jackson's death happened off-screen because of a hurricane. Arnold's death, revealed only by his severed arm, was never supposed to happen off-camera. Samuel L. Jackson was scheduled to fly to Kauai to shoot his character's brutal on-screen death scene. But after Hurricane Iniki destroyed much of the island, the shoot was canceled. Spielberg had no choice but to imply Arnold's fate instead. This accidental edit created one of the most chilling moments in the film. Ellie grabbing Arnold's arm for reassurance, only to discover it's detached. The shock factor came from necessity, not planning. Jackson later joked he was relieved not to have to wrestle with a raptor animatronic, yet his unfinished death became one of the most memorable scares in the film. A reminder that nature, not just dinosaurs, controlled Jurassic Park's production. Spielberg nearly fired the CGI team. When Industrial Light and Magic ILM first presented test footage of computer-generated dinosaurs, Spielberg almost rejected it. The early models looked stiff, unnatural, and more like video game characters than living creatures. Spielberg initially believed practical effects would remain the backbone of the film. But ILM's team, led by Dennis Muren, secretly kept working after hours, refining the animation. When Spielberg saw the updated footage of a herd of gallimimus running, he was stunned. He reportedly stood up, clapped, and said, "You've just changed the history of cinema." That moment marked the turning point where CGI overtook animatronics as the future of filmmaking. Jurassic Park didn't just show dinosaurs, it rewrote Hollywood's entire technological playbook. The famous water ripples took weeks to perfect. Remember the glass of water trembling as the T-Rex approaches? That single shot haunted the crew for weeks. Spielberg wanted the ripples to mimic the sensation of hearing a bass-heavy concert through your chest, but no one could figure out how to make the water vibrate in concentric circles on command. After endless tests, special effects supervisor Michael Lantieri cracked it by plucking a guitar string attached under the dashboard of the car. Every ripple you see came from that guitar trick. The shot became one of the film's most iconic moments. Simple, elegant, terrifying. It wasn't computer graphics, it was rock and roll physics in action. And speaking of iconic moments, go ahead and like and subscribe because the next 10 facts will show you just how close Jurassic Park came to collapsing entirely. The airline scene nearly crushed the Jeep and the actors. That heart-stopping sequence where the T-Rex attacks the kids in the SUV wasn't just movie magic, it was raw danger. The animatronic Rex weighed over 4 tons and was operated by massive hydraulics. During the rain-soaked shoot, its movements became unpredictable. At one point, the giant head slammed down on the plexiglass roof harder than planned. The glass began to shatter, and the children's screams, those weren't scripted. Ariana Richards and Joseph Mazzello genuinely thought they were about to be crushed. Spielberg didn't call cut, he let the cameras roll. What you see on screen is their real terror, forever captured. For the young actors, the scene blurred the line between performance and survival. For the audience, it became one of the most unforgettable horror moments in cinema. Richard Attenborough slept through a hurricane. When Hurricane Iniki tore through Kauai, most of the cast and crew were terrified. They huddled together in a hotel ballroom, listening to windows blow out and debris crash against the walls. But Richard Attenborough, he slept right through it. Spielberg later asked him how that was possible. Attenborough simply shrugged and said, "My dear boy, I survived the Blitz." The legendary actor and director had lived through World War II air raids in London. To him, a Hawaiian hurricane was nothing in comparison. His calm presence on set became a kind of grounding force. While everyone else was shaken, Attenborough's unflappable demeanor reminded the crew that they were telling a story about survival, and he embodied it off-screen as well. Spielberg used a cow as a raptor stand-in. Actors can't react realistically to dinosaurs that don't exist. Spielberg knew this, so he devised unusual tricks to keep his cast on edge. During rehearsals for the raptor pen feeding scene, he used a live cow hoisted in a harness as a stand-in. The animal was lowered into the cage, then quickly replaced with the animatronics and sound effects. The cast had to react as if the cow were about to be devoured, giving them a visceral sense of danger. Sam Neill later admitted it was one of the strangest moments he'd experienced on a set. The absurdity of watching a cow being dangled in front of fake dinosaurs made the actors laugh nervously, but it also gave them something tangible to fear. Sometimes reality, not CGI, fuels the best performances. The T-Rex roar was a Frankenstein of sounds. The most famous sound in the film, the T-Rex roar, wasn't one animal. It was many. Gary Rydstrom combined recordings of baby elephants, lions, and alligators, but the core of the roar came from his Jack Russell Terrier, Buster. When slowed down, Buster's ferocious bark gave the T-Rex its piercing bite. The final mix blended power with unpredictability, making the roar feel ancient and terrifying. Spielberg pushed Rydstrom to make it feel like something you could feel in your bones. In theaters, audiences literally flinched as their seats shook. The fact that the king of dinosaurs owes its voice partly to a tiny dog is one of cinema's great ironies and proof that the smallest creatures sometimes leave the biggest impact. Ariana Richards won her role because of a scream. Casting Lex Murphy came down to one thing: a scream. During auditions, Spielberg wanted to see which young actress could convincingly react to danger. Ariana Richards let out a blood-curdling scream so intense that Spielberg's wife, who was upstairs at the time, rushed down thinking something horrible had happened. That moment sealed the deal. Richards had the job. On set, her screams became part of the film's DNA. They weren't just loud, they carried genuine panic, giving the dinosaur's presence more weight. Richards later admitted she nearly lost her voice from constant screaming, but Spielberg encouraged her to push harder. Without her iconic shrieks, many of the film's scariest sequences wouldn't feel half as real. The Gallimimus stampede was shot in a parking lot. That breathtaking scene where Grant and the kids run through a stampede of Gallimimus wasn't filmed in a vast jungle. It was actually shot in a flat, empty parking lot. Spielberg had the actors sprint across plain terrain while crew members waved sticks with tennis balls on top to represent the dinosaurs' eye lines. ILM later filled the space with dozens of CGI Gallimimus. To help the actors visualize the chaos, Spielberg shouted directions during the take. Left, right, duck. Joseph Mazzello recalled it felt ridiculous, like playing tag in a parking lot. But once the visual effects were added, the scene became one of the most dynamic moments in the film. It's a perfect example of Spielberg's genius, turning the most mundane setup into movie magic. Stan Winston built a raptor that opened doors. The raptor's intelligence wasn't just scripted, it was engineered. Stan Winston's team designed animatronics so lifelike they could actually manipulate door handles. The crew tested the raptors inside the set's kitchen, and to everyone's shock, the animatronic claw gripped and turned the knob smoothly. Spielberg was so impressed he added the now iconic shot of the raptor opening the kitchen door. It terrified test audiences because it suggested the dinosaurs weren't just monsters, they were problem solvers. Paleontologists later debated the accuracy, but it didn't matter. The image of a predator learning to open doors has haunted viewers for decades. What was supposed to be a technical flourish became one of the scariest and most copied moments in modern cinema. The lawyer's death was Spielberg's rewrite. In Michael Crichton's novel Donald Gennaro, the lawyer, survives. Spielberg thought that was too easy. He rewrote the script so Gennaro is eaten on the toilet by the T-Rex. Spielberg believed the death would both shock audiences and provide dark comic relief. The crew set up the crumbling bathroom stall on hydraulics, then filmed actor Martin Ferrero trying not to break character as the giant Rex head lunged toward him. Ferrero later admitted he was thrilled by the rewrite, calling it one of the most memorable exits in movie history. The decision added humor to horror, cementing the T-Rex as both terrifying and weirdly theatrical. It also sent a message. No character, not even the smug lawyer, was safe in Jurassic Park. Spielberg filmed the raptor's POV like Jaws. Jurassic Park wasn't just about dinosaurs, it was a callback to Spielberg's earlier masterpiece, Jaws. For the raptor hunt sequences, Spielberg deliberately used low stalking camera angles to mimic the shark's POV in Jaws. He wanted audiences to feel hunted, not just chased. The technique worked so well that many critics dubbed Jurassic Park Jaws on land. The parallels didn't stop there. Just like in Jaws, Spielberg delayed the full reveal of the monsters, letting shadows, sounds, and glimpses build suspense. By the time the raptors corner the survivors, viewers are already primed with dread. Jurassic Park wasn't just about CGI innovation, it was about returning to old-school suspense. Spielberg made the cast watch dinosaur attacks. To prepare the actors for the terror of living dinosaurs, Spielberg screened footage of real animal attacks. Sam Neill remembered watching documentaries of lions ambushing prey, crocodiles lunging at zebras, and birds of prey swooping down. Spielberg told the cast to imagine that same primal speed and power behind every dinosaur encounter. He wanted their fear to come from instinct, not acting. Laura Dern admitted the exercise made her look at chickens differently since raptors were often described as big predatory birds. Spielberg's insistence on grounding the dinosaurs in real animal behavior gave Jurassic Park its edge. These weren't fantasy creatures, they were predators that felt uncomfortably real. The T-Rex almost didn't appear in the ending. Here's the shocker. The T-Rex saving the day in the finale wasn't in the original script. Originally, the survivors were supposed to defeat the raptors themselves before escaping. But Spielberg realized audiences would want one last, unforgettable moment with the Rex. He restructured the climax so the T-Rex smashes into the visitor center, kills the raptors, and roars beneath the falling when dinosaurs ruled the Earth banner. That last-minute decision gave Jurassic Park its legendary ending. The Rex didn't just terrify, it became the film's anti-hero, stealing the finale from the human characters. Without that rewrite, the movie's most iconic moment might never have existed. Jurassic Park wasn't just a dinosaur movie, it was a production filled with hurricanes, malfunctioning robots, improvised rewrites, and near disasters that almost sank it. Out of that chaos, Spielberg and his team created a film that redefined cinema. The legacy? Jurassic Park didn't just bring dinosaurs back to life, it made audiences believe they had never really gone extinct. If you enjoyed uncovering these secrets, hit like, subscribe, and remember, in Hollywood, chaos always finds a way.